So I drew 300 hands in a week. Total of 98 layers, which is a lot of layers. And I normally don't do that many, but I wanted to keep them all contained in one. So when I started out, I think I was drawing a couple from imagination, and then I got reference. So it's definitely this upper one that looks really bad. At the end of this, I'm going to try and draw it months after I did this. So we'll see what happens. So the first one was from imagination, which is very rough looking, but I got looks like a hand. And then these other ones I don't remember. I think I had reference for them. And I'm just gonna go through them all, and we'll talk about the ones that are interesting. My lines aren't great quality, but they're okay. Probably did a lot of drawing and redrawing, but that's how you learn. So it's the hard part. And I did some erasing to clean some of them up. Some of them I left more rough. I think I started changing which brush I was using, which is showing different results. I like what I'm seeing so far. Now I'm starting to add in, it looks like I'm starting to add in some more hands, like doing different things, where I have more than one hand, and not always, but it seems like I'm doing one hand per layer, and at this point I realize it's not going to be sustainable to do them all separate layers, so I started putting them on multiple layers. These I think I tried to do 1 minute. I have 1 minute written there each, and yeah, they look like I rushed them. They didn't come out well. I was trying to speed up time because I think I just like, alright, I have a lot of hands, so I better get drawing. And my quality started to dip a little bit there. But then here, it's like, these hands look great. So maybe I had a break and I came back to them and like, alright, I'm going to try again. And then more crappy hands. Like, it's not consistent. These ones are decent. Yeah, this one's really nice. I think now I'm going through a phase where I think I was drawing the hands doing stuff or holding things. I'm noticing something here where the hands just look wide. More hands like touching each other, other hands. I'm using reference for like a ton of these. Then I had them holding some swords. Honestly, look really good. Objection. Man, I'm noticing all the bad parts about the drawings. This hand grabbing, reaching to grab something is just really neat. And I didn't take enough notes, so it was really hard for me to remember which ones I was using reference for and which ones I wasn't. Because there were some that I did go back and draw, and they weren't always with reference, but I think they were, so I wish I knew which ones those were. I think it's this one up here. I know I definitely did not have a reference for that one. It seemed like I was doing well, and then I got to this half of the hand, and it's like, alright. That was number 80, so I am doing a lot. This is probably the second day now. Hands are still bad. It's a mix of good and bad still. These are all really nice, which is impressive. Some parts I'm having a hard time seeing what are my guidelines. Because I started to use, there's like an arch that I noticed goes through the knuckles and kind of midway through the fingers. And then I made it to 100, and I was excited about it. Alright, now we made it through the first 100. I have no idea, like, when I start getting better at it. I like these ones. Very expressive. Like hands grabbing fabric and cloth. People holding hands, which are kind of nice looking. I like them. The more they're interacting, the more interesting they got. And I started playing around with that a lot more. And then like some of the more simple ones, like they were boring, so I kind of rushed through them a little bit more. I took my time. I started to slow down for some of them. I might have to paint some of these because I just like how they look. 58, 54 layers, 140 at this point. I'm really getting better at making more expressive movement with the fingers, getting more comfortable with the placement of them, being able to like spread them out and have them still look decent. But some angles are just really difficult. This one playing an instrument, it's kind of like a violin. And again, I think some of these I definitely did not have reference, or I was rushing through. Well, I was rushing through them obviously because I wanted to get them done. Oh man, that is a rough looking hand. But I feel like I was getting better even with the crappier ones. because it let me like recalibrate. I'm like, okay, this is where I have a problem. I can focus a little bit on that more. This hand, who knows what's going on. It looks like I was not happy with that one. There's a little frowny face there. Oh, I like this hand reaching. And I'm getting more loose at this point. I'm at around 200 and I'm starting to have much more looser hands. I'm not doing as much construction lines. I'm just kind of jumping into it, which saves me time, but probably cost me some quality a little bit. These are nice. Like I'm just getting looser and looser. It's about 200. I think I'm starting to get good at them. So it's kind of reversed on the ratios and how many I've had. So up to this point, there's more bad than good ones, and now it's less bad ones than good ones. So I'm improving my percentages of how well they come out the longer I go, which makes sense, and that's probably the truth for anything. I'm getting more detailed with some of them too. I kept looking for more and more interesting hands to draw. Some of these more meaty looking hands are harder to get because I just think getting the proportions right is harder. When I was used to drawing a lot more thinner hands. These ones look like it looks like I made up some of these, but I'm not 100% sure. Sometimes the references just weren't good and they were hard to really tell where the edges and forms were. These hands are really nice. I'm getting very close to the end here. These hands look good. How many hands did I draw? Holy shit. How many freaking hands did I draw? How did I do this in a week? And the last two were kind of crappy. Go figure. So after I got through 300 hands, I decided it was time to draw a couple more to see if I learned from it. It's been a few months since I drew the 300 hands and I just wanted to see what I could do with it. I started out by drawing a couple hands from imagination without reference. I did my best trying not to look at my hand, and that was hard, but I made some okay hands that came out and they weren't terrible, but I knew there's something missing and I knew I could do better. So that's when I decided, you know what, I'll draw a couple ones with reference. And going back and looking at them, I think I did a pretty good job without really needing to look up anything. But then I came back and started doing some hands with reference, and I think I struggled with trying to get them to look exactly right, and I think that might be an issue I had. At first I drew them in like 3 fingers in one like grouping and then one separate. That's usually a good trick. But then I got lost in the details and I ended up looking a little bit more rough than I wanted it to. At some point I'm just like, okay, I'm tired of working on this one. I'm just going to try and draw another one and see how that comes out. So the second one, the interesting thing about this is the thumb is coming forward, so it's a bit foreshortened, so it makes it look a little off, but eventually I'll draw the wrist in place and then I'll be able to give it a little bit more idea of how the hand's coming towards you. But I was getting mad at it, freaking out. Why does this look awful? What the It's like I was just wondering why it looks so bad, but the truth is I wasn't really finished with it yet. And there I draw on the wrist. And then also another thing I did is I went in and I drew some rings, which were on the reference. And that also gives a little bit more context to the form and the direction the fingers are going. There's also one on the thumb, which I could have gone into more detail on. And then I went back to one of my original drawings that I did from imagination and used reference to kind of make it look better. And then I also tried to bend the finger, and I think that in a way made it look worse, but it also made it more interesting. And a few things that I learned while drawing is like, the more interesting the hand pose was, the more I liked drawing it. So the more time I spent on it, and the more time you spend on something, usually it comes out better. I really think that drawing 300 hands did help me get better at it. Just sometimes warming up and knocking off the rust sometimes can be the issue, or just spending more time on it. I still learned the proportions and my eyes were good, but the point is okay, there's 2 things that you should take away from this. Take your time on stuff and always use reference. The crazy part about this, I was not going to make a video out of it, and then I was looking back on all the hands that I did and I was impressed that I did that many. and I even did it in a week, and that was really surprising. My goal was to only spend like a couple minutes on them so I could get through them quickly, but some of them ended up taking like 10 or 20 minutes depending on how complex they were. But I made some really cool drawings. I put some of my best ones out that you're probably looking at right now. It was just interesting, a fun experiment to try out. And I don't really got much else to say on it, so I'll see ya later. Till next time, Dargon out.